Walid, nice to see you today. Welcome to the first episode of Spice Talk. I'm actually honored of having you here as my guest to kick off my first episode of the Spice Talk show.
Well, thank you for having me, but it's always a pleasure connecting with you, Helen, and chatting with you. So if you don't mind letting me know more about Spice Talk, I would definitely appreciate it.
Of course, I assume you know who Tony Stark and Pepper, right, who they are. Pepper has been one of my most favorite characters on the planet. So I couldn't name the show as Pepper Talk because, that's already owned and by the AI world, as a matter of fact. So I named that after that. It's called Spice Talk. In reality, Spice really represents a scenario, right? The scenario we're going to talk about, whatever topic, scenario, or scope of the discussion. And then P stands for point of view, right? And then I represents innovation. So what I'm talking about is your point of view of innovation. And then C is communication, how we're going to communicate with our CXO is our target audience, right? And then E is how do you make it real, is more of execution. So that's really the center of this chat. I'm actually humbled to have you here. I would love, I know you're heading the AI and sustainability for manufacturing at Microsoft, and people would love to know about your story as they start reading, what you've done, where you've been, and where you're at today, and what really attracted you to the field of artificial intelligence.
Well, thank you, Helen. It's very kind of you, but definitely it's not as interesting as Tony Stark, but I'll try. It has been a journey. I think fundamentally, AI is really the culmination of a lot of development and disruption in engineering and computer science, and also even in our day-to-day living and our needs and demands. That's why I'm very excited to be working on the cusp of disruption and innovation, while also providing value to the environment and the ecosystem we live in. That's why I love my job. Intersection between AI and sustainability, I couldn't have dreamt of a better job that I'm so proud to be working on nowadays. But with that said, it has been a very joyful journey. AI, people have this stigma about AI, but it has actually been in the development since 1900, since the beginning of control theory, automation, really manufacturing and driving the automation as the initial disruption. The first industrial revolution drove into a lot of other venues of math and science. I come to enjoy the outcome of this math and science, and had the pleasure of working with key corporations and enterprises as we spoke earlier, as have been crowned by working for Microsoft now. So I am fortunate, but this journey is open to many other folks. I don't think what I've done is hard to replicate or even do better than. I do believe it's only beginning to open new venues and new horizons for the new generations. Very exciting times, actually, to be connected on the topic.
Absolutely. And then, in your opinion, is the field of AI advancing faster because of the COVID?
Sometimes it's a blessing in disguise. It's no different than operational research that got further advanced and operational optimization. Unfortunately, during and as an outcome for World War II and the need to optimize a lot of operations, we've witnessed the global economy coming under a threat like never before with the COVID-19 and that shrinkage. Having said that, we also came to realize few aspects of where we need. I work for Microsoft. Microsoft is a part of the cloud industry that actually witnessed the biggest growth during that period. We're using a platform for us to communicate remotely today. This is becoming the nomenclature of communications going to the future, talking about spice and communications. That's actually an outcome of what we witnessed as a species going through the COVID-19. So sometimes it's a blessing in disguise that will drive the next wave of disruption and innovation. AI is no different. As we started thinking of our supply chain, of our vendor management, our risk assessment, all of these, as they map themselves into execution and tying them to products that we need in our daily life, artificial intelligence in all different formats became a very powerful tool to enable us to be successful in that era.
Yeah, I actually listened to this, the Art of Possible podcast recently, was quite impressed, right, with the real use case that Microsoft really made it happen. So, I just echo what you just said. So that's being said, how is Microsoft researching, applying, and employing AI to improve the workforce? Can you share a little bit more with
Yeah,
here?
yeah, we're very excited actually about AI to become, it is really the era of data and AI, and being able to tie in this new notion of providing that degree of intelligence that was missed before from all of our aspects, from all of our life aspects, whether it's related to even understanding simple tasks like editing a document. There is AI now that is improving Word document into very intensive surgeries and image understanding and image analysis. That's also AI, and we're very proud to be a player in that space, into smart cities and managing huge amount influx of data with spikes, with disruptions, with like the pandemic issues, and addressing health and communities' health. There is a lot of AI is included there, and you see a lot of Microsoft's contribution there. I mean, you start looking at the different venues, whether it's an enterprise industry, whether it's government activated engagements, whether it's our day-to-day life, like a student using Word document or Excel sheets or a presentation. PowerPoint today offers you the ability through the AI automation of developing and delivering a better presentation. Same thing with Word and Excel. So we're at the cusp of where AI is providing tangible, measurable outcomes to all our aspects of our life. And we at Microsoft, we're very fortunate to also be relying on one of the biggest cloud offerings in the world today, with its massive footprint, where we can deliver this AI at scale, and we can provide it almost at every locale in the world, almost at the same time as we disseminate this new innovation into our cloud. So time couldn't have been better to invent more, invent better, and distribute with more equity for all attendees on the earth.
That's fascinating and impressive, right, at the same time. So can you give us a sneak peek into the future, right? I find that when you combine AI and sustainability, that's where the power, right, into the real world is showing. And it'd be good to see what is the, the peek into the future of that.
Absolutely. Not only are we at Microsoft, are we focused on our value add to the environment we live in, to also everyone and every organization that we deliver value for and work with, but we're also committed to sharing our own best practices with the world. We have our target of becoming carbon neutral. And really, if you start scratching the surface under every sustainability objective, whether it's a carbon reduction or nitrogen sequestration or optimization of energy dissemination, when you start looking at every objective of these that will serve our sustainability objectives as a community, as a society, and as nations, you will start seeing as enterprises and businesses, you will start seeing a wealth of data underneath it. So for example, if we are to come up with the best utilization of energy in a specific space for building the most optimal factory floor, there are tons of sensors that are all distributed all over for you to be able to extract the meaningful data, for you to be able to build the scenarios, the risk, and also optimize the products within these different scenarios. If we are to do it right, sustainability, and circular economy, they should go hand in hand with the delivery of superior products and superior products at lower cost. than what's being achieved today. At the end, it is really this battle of enormous amounts of data and how to make the best out of them. And no better tool can allow you to navigate that better than AI tools.
Absolutely, absolutely. I've read some articles recently about the fear that AI will put people out of jobs, right? While others say, hey, it will reskill workers, open up a whole new landscape of jobs. So what is your point of view on that?
Yeah, and it's interesting. I read your articles and I really appreciate your perspective on this. And I think the notion of scaling, it's funny. It reminds me really of, and we chatted about this before. It reminds me of when they asked Henry Ford, and he told him, if I ask people, they would have just asked for faster horses. I think fundamentally, we're always worried of the unknown. And sometimes you have pre-baked notions of what this future would look like, and as such, the anxiety and fear could start ramping up. But to your point, at every inflection point of our history, there has been these disruptions. Sometimes, as we spoke earlier, they are an outcome of an ugly event like a global war or World War II or others. But where we are today, this actually has been simmering for the longest time. This evolution of data and AI has been in the works, as we spoke earlier, since the 19th century, with all the development in math and all the development in information theory and others. And as such, we've been ramping up for this. But to answer your question directly, would it affect the workforce? I do believe it's going to affect the workforce positively. There will be yet another explosion of new opportunities. It will increase the level of living of human beings who are connected to these manufacturing floors and others. I keep myself trained. I'm sure you do the same. But I think this is actually the nature of the beast. We'll have to reskill the workforce. There is definitely new opportunities for the newcomers to the workforce, but for the existing workforce, we also need to reinvest with them, because AI on its own cannot provide us with the most outcome that we're desiring if it doesn't grasp the best known methods and expertise and knowledge of those experienced in the field for the longest time. So it's this combination that we need to do. So for reskilling the workforce and combining that with the new tools, AI, that will be providing, I believe it will be a net addition to the workforce, not a negative one.
Yeah, that's really well said. I heard you being a big supporter of St. Jude Children's Research Hospital, where they do such wonderful work in finding cures and helping children. How do you feel about the potential of AI enabling more people to join the workforce, right? As was, I heard the success story at Clever Group, imaging group, which they used Microsoft technology to employ and empower workers with disabilities, right? That's a powerful story for disability, how you really leverage technology to drive sustainability, right? Tell us more about it.
Yeah, and I think, well, firstly, thank you for referring to St. Jude. It's one of my favorite organizations that I wouldn't hesitate to exert more effort in supporting and helping. I think fundamentally where we are today, to kind of comment on your initial observation around COVID-19, look, the way we came together and we as a species, we managed to come up with a vaccination, and hopefully we're out of the wood very soon in the summer to the fall, and could be a memory of the past, what we went through with COVID-19. Can't wait for this to become the same story with Alzheimer, with cancer, with a lot of these diseases that I do believe we have really a fair shot if we put our best minds into it. And AI is a component of that best minds. It's really being able to reduce the amount of time required for understanding an existence of a tumor with a percentage, for it to help the radiologist to increase the quality and quantity of their assessment, for it, talking about healthcare and medicine, even developing the right therapy and therapeutic treatments and drugs, working in the right distribution of drugs at scale, working even on the financial models that will optimize it. As we said earlier, when we do good, we don't have to be on the negative side from the finance. We just need to do it right so that sustainability and serving our own societal and community objectives can also be beneficial to our business. But the challenge that we always had is the combination of these different streams of data to come up with the most meaningful decision in light of sometimes contradicting decisions in our perspective. But if you really play these scenarios out, and that's what AI is all about, it's building these scenarios out, it's giving us perspective into the future, how it could like if we go scenario 1, 2, 3 out of hundreds of thousands, that our capabilities won't be able to get us there on its own.
The challenge I see, honestly, is that the people who are building this capability may not understand what's happening in the real world, right? So you got the disconnects. And so, if they really can go there, if you're a truck driver, you're building something for the truck driver to automate that, you better sit in the driver's seat to know the real day-to-day life for a truck driver, so that you can build something that's more operationalized and then make it like really serve them in that way, rather than just automation, but that automation that also, in a way, as you said, it has to work in the real world, right? And to improve their experience rather than make it really painful.
Couldn't have said it any better. You're spot on, Helen.
So let's say it's in 2030 now, right? What role does AI will play in our daily life?
I don't think it will be called AI by then. It will be called life. I think, I'm kidding you not. I think we're actually categorizing a lot of these different structured methods of thinking and analysis, because it's really kind of new to other disciplines, to your earlier comment. But if I'm working in manufacturing in the year 2040, I will not be discussing a couple of times how my augmented reality capabilities, it's not going to even be that bulky as we see it today. It's going to be very thin, maybe even added to my glasses, and how the information being displayed is cognitive of my environment and giving me the relevant information and such. I really don't think it's going to be called AI by then. It's exactly like our conversation now. We don't call color attenuation, it's control theory. We don't, but it is really control theory that was established in the 1900s. So it is going to be a thing of the past. And by then, hopefully we look at it and smile and laugh about it together.
Interesting, because we have smartphone, smart water, smart home, smart city. Everything is about smart, right? In 20 years or 10 years, we may have a different word to use, that reinventing the whole concept of technology.
I do believe it's going to be disseminated naturally and seamlessly into all our aspects of life. Even your fridge, even your kitchen will be along the same path as well.
Exactly. Such as he said, right? We have seen 2 years worth of digital transformation in the matter of 2 months, really. So that's really true, right? AI has been a major force in accelerating the progress and expanding the opportunity for greater inclusion among the manufacturing workforce.
Yeah.
So, I'm really fascinated about the progress we've made. Companies like Microsoft is out there making significant impact, and then making that impact at scale. My last question might be a little bit tricky to make sure that, what did Tony Stark said to Pepper before what was his last word to Pepper?
That's a tricky one. I think I'll stick with AI, but
okay. I can tell you next time you'll know, right? When we have next time, he said, "Hey, Pep."
Oh, okay.
And then
I like
Pepper said to him, she said, "Look at me, Tony." And then he opened up his eyes, said, "Hey, Pep." That was his word.
I like that. I think I remember that, by the way, from the movie. But yes, it's interesting. But yeah, thank you for referring to the disability and AI. I do believe even our definition of disability will change thanks to AI, and we see venues for that. And the ability, remember, a couple of 100 years ago, strength, muscular strength was the means for better living and providing more for our people, our families, our communities. This is no different than our thinking of disability. And hopefully, we do strongly believe that driving AI with the right diversity and equity, having ethical AI and ethics combined together in our thinking, removing bias so that we enable communities that have been unfortunately underprivileged in consumption, delivery, and utilization of technology. I think having all these tools and being able to drive value on top of them, well, I cannot wait to see even our definition of disability changes thanks to the innovations that we're driving. But hey, Pap, I'll keep that in mind.
Thank you. That's such a strong wrap up for our talk. I wish we could stay on for another hour. I'm sure that audience will benefit from watching this, and then we look forward to inviting you back to the show. And thank you so much for the time, and look forward to chatting with you again.
Likewise, I look forward to this, and then make sure to include the right background next time. So I'll get this taken care of. I appreciate it, Helen.
Yeah, thank you so much. Bye.
Bye.